Hey, welcome back to Grit Gym. Tuesday, the Rachel and Adam show. Rachel's got a little bit of an obstacle today. She wasn't sure if she was even going to be able to do the show because this morning when she woke up, I said, hey, good morning, and she said,
good morning.
Yeah. And only it was like way quieter than that, and I was like, oh boy. Anyway,
For the past 4 days.
Yeah, it's just gotten a little bit worse as time has gone along. So at first it really wasn't all that bad. You just sounded like when we went on a date the other night, and she got in the car and I'm pulling out of the driveway and she was trying to talk to me, and I was like, gosh, it feels like if I'm not looking at you, it feels like I'm on the date with somebody else. Felt like I was like doing something bad. But no, she just doesn't have much of a voice.
I'm gonna try.
Could you hear that?
I'm gonna try.
That wasn't a me saying, you better speak up. That's not what I was doing there. But today we're, I saw this video the other day, and it was even one of those, I don't know, today what we're going to talk about is, the question is, there's the Black Lives Matter, there's the All Lives Matter, now there's the Blue Lives Matter. There's been videos come out about each one. They're talking justice and all this stuff, and there's showing violence and showing, and I think there's pros and cons and things that everybody can agree and disagree with on all sides of the fence. But the question that we're going to pose is: are there lives that don't matter? If we're really going to get into this, we're going to say Black Lives Matter, are there lives that don't matter? And if we're looking at Blue Lives Matter, are there lives that don't matter? And if we're looking at All Lives Matter, are there lives that don't matter? I think is probably the better question, instead of forcing another idea, but to impose a question, or not to impose, but to pose, not impose, to pose a question: are there lives that don't matter? And we're going to go into this a little bit, I don't know. I had 4 black roommates my first 2 years of college, or I lived with these 4 different black guys my first 2 years of college, and very, very eye-opening from coming in Podunk, small town, southeast Iowa, where I'd met
Ainsworth.
Ainsworth, Iowa, where I'd met 3 black people in my life, and I don't mean gotten to know 3 black people in my life. I mean met. Met 3 black people in my life, which makes a big difference. There's a difference, being around it, and there's a certain amount of, I think, of huge misunderstandings on both sides, and it's easy for us in Iowa, where we're not really in certain areas, for us to look at it and pass judgment, and so that's what we're going to try to stay away from today. But we're just going to pose some perspectives, and you can choose whatever you want to do with those perspectives. But anyway, you have anything to say?
I'm going to try my best to speak up and everything, but sometimes it comes across as a whisper. So just ask me to clarify or if you don't hear anything.
This and last night, this is her being loud. So, yeah.
It's usually the past couple days I've only been a whisper.
Is it painful?
Yeah. I'm using my whole core to get this out, my abs and everything.
Does it hurt in here, though?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I did not make her come on the show today. I asked. I was like, "Are you sure? You sure? You sure?" The first time that I will say, the first time that I hate imposing authority. I hate being the authoritative. I don't like that put on me, and I don't like that on anybody else. But one day she was like, "Oh, I could never." This is how the first show that Rachel ever did. We were having breakfast, and she goes, "I don't know how you do that." I was like, "What do you mean? I'm scared to death to do it anyway, but I do it anyway." And she was like, "Yeah, but that's just so crazy. I can't believe you do that every day." And I was like, "You're coming on the show today." And she was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not doing that." And I was like, "Yeah, you are."
I used the F word in that.
Yeah, I think you were like, "Fuck no." And anyway, so I was like, "No, you're coming on the show today. You're going to do it. You'll be fine." And I was like, "This is the topic that I was going to talk about. Let's make some points, some talking points, and we can go back and forth." And she was like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that." And even before the show, she was sitting here, she's like, frozen. That was cute. Yeah. That was cute when I did it too. Probably. I know I'm not as cute as you, but no, it was really funny. She's like, I can't do that. I was like, you have to do this. If you're that scared of something, you have to do it.
All right.
Now you're here. So anyway, are there lives that don't matter? If we're gonna have this Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matter is the cop thing. Black Lives Matter is the black people thing, and the All Lives Matter, I don't really know. I think that came by way of the Black Lives Matter thing. I don't really have a problem with any of these until they start like spouting violence against each other. I'm very much a live however you want. It's your go, and as long as you're not hurting anybody, who am I to say that you're doing it wrong? However, like the thing is, like if you're going to start spouting like cops need to die or anything like this, it's like holy shit. Like I might be an anti-authority type person. Like I just really can't despise authority, but I'm not going to say go kill people or go impose violence on somebody else. So we're going to talk a little bit about race. We're going to talk a little bit about justice and a little bit about logic. Because we were talking about this morning. We had breakfast with one of our relationship coach we use. Go back in other videos to see. We've talked about that at length. Why to have a relationship coach, because your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your time are your greatest resources that you're going to have in life. So if you're going to be like, if you're going to do this thing, if you're going to have this life, you might as well do it great. And if you're going to do something great, you go get a coach. So we went and got a coach so that we could take our relationship to another level. Anyway, where was I? Right before that.
Race.
Oh, we were talking about logic.
Okay.
And so these two started asking me questions about reason, objectivity, and logic. I was like, well, like I actually have like an area of my mind that I kind of go to that is like when I say sacred space, I mean it is a sacred space. I hold this to an extremely high regard, and I call it the logos. It's what the word logic is based off of. There's the origin of the word logic. Anyway, in this space, I have no emotion. I have no heart. I have nothing but complete objective thought. And it's extremely hard to go there, and it is definitely a practice, but it is where reason and logic and objectivity reign. And it's hard to go into that space, but I think like this is where you really find a ton of answers. And like I'm not saying that heart and emotion don't have a place in how you make decisions, but you need to have solid logical reason behind what you think, what you say, your perspectives, and how you came to those conclusions. If they're gonna hold any water, right? So like I have this space, and we were talking about. So logic is a very important thing to me. And I think it should be. I really do think this is very much an atomism, but I think it should be for everybody. Anyway, and logic's a little bit of a different deal for you, though. How do you look at it?
I mean, going back to how you look at it, before you come to a conclusion about anything, you kind of wrap around many times before you kind of state it as an opinion or like a belief or black and white, which is nice. You have to, because to have any sort of debate or disagreement, you have to be able to come back to your logic and be able to stand next to what you believe in.
Yeah.
Which is good in any argument, but especially in this kind of area.
Yeah, it's just very hard to think logically. So throughout this, if we get into race and we get into justice and we get into this kind of stuff, I think it's very easy to go to like, oh, they're just heartless assholes. Well, I'm trying to be a heartless asshole. I'm not trying to be a heartless asshole. I'm trying to be a heartless dick, right?
Okay, yeah.
If you've ever seen Team America World Police, there's this part in the movie where there's two parts in the movie. They talk about the guy's drunk and he's like, I'm a terrible person, I'm a dick, and the other guy in the bar, the wise guy in the bar that's drunk, is like, well, there's three types of people in the world: pussies, dicks, and assholes. And he says, pussies don't like dicks because pussies get fucked by dicks. And then he says, dicks just want to fuck all the time without thinking it through, and assholes just want to shit all over everything. And then he goes, but you know what you'd get if you didn't have the dicks? No, what's he say?
Assholes.
You'd get your dick and your pussy all covered in shit. Oh, if the dick didn't fuck the assholes, you'd have your dick and your pussy all covered in shit. So what he's saying is you need all three for everything to roll. But we're going to talk about that a little bit too.
It's a metaphor for life in the weirdest possible way, but it works.
And it's genius. It's Team America World Police, one of my favorite movies. I think it's just absolutely
genius. You could probably Google
genius.
it and it'd make a lot more sense.
Yes. Because pussies are only an inch and a half away. Pussies get so full of shit that they become assholes themselves. Anyway, so when I was in college, I had 4 roommates that were black, and we had a lot of really interesting discussions. And coming from a small town where there's no black people, and these guys weren't like black people that grew up like I did. Like I've met other black people that grew up just how I did. Like their dads are like very middle class. Their dads were farmers or whatever. Like my dad was. Grew up very much like me. Totally different conversations than I had with the guys that I went to college with. These guys were from one was from inner city. He bounced back and forth between Clearwater and Tampa, and the other 3 were from like the not great parts of Houston. And they were very, very interesting guys to talk with. And I think there's 2 things that I think white people tend to, especially that there's a few things that white people tend to err on with the whole, with any kind of race thing. One is they don't know how to act. And really, should they act any different? Probably not. But if you aren't around other black people on a regular basis and you don't know how to act around them, like you're going to act different around your grandma than you are around your buddies, right? So it's understandable. Like you don't know how to act, so you end up fucking it up. The other thing is they're afraid to seem racist. They're so scared of seeming like they're a racist that they come across like a racist. Remember, like whatever you are afraid of, you get more of. And then the other thing is that, like they don't acknowledge the race thing. Like Rach and I are not equal. She's a girl and I'm a guy. Like we're not like the same person. When I say equal, we're not the same. There are differences, and that's okay. Like there's positive differences. Like so like when I get around certain people, like these guys, I remember asking one time. I was like how. Like, do you guys mind when people call you black? And they're like, no, we're black. You should call us black. It was really funny because anyway, we would get in these weird discussions, and there was just so many things that broke down for me living with those guys for that period of time.
And you were pretty curious, so you probably weren't bashful about asking.
I was super bashful about asking back then.
Well, I mean, you still wanted to know.
I was like, you
weren't just gonna be like, oh, I just won't ask them because I'm sure it was eating you up inside.
It was like, hey, when you take a shower, does your hair actually get wet or it just kind of roll off?
Oh my God.
But you don't know. Like, there's so many white people out there right now that are like, which one is it? And the black people out there are like, you white people are so funny. That's what they do. And then, but like people are so uncomfortable with that. Like even I am like, I wonder how people are going to react to that when they hear me say something like that. But all the people that I know that are black would be like, dude, you're such a funny dude. Like you're such a weirdo. I'm like, yeah. But I would ask them questions like this, and it was really interesting what would break down. And the things that they would have to say are interesting too. They had very interesting views around, what's it called? Affirmative action was something that they thought was like. Some of them thought like why wouldn't I take it? And it's like, yeah. I was like, yeah. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? Duh. But they were also like, I don't see the point. Why would I be any different than you? And I'm like, because you're not.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, they're just cool guys.
It's coming from a different perspective.
Yeah, it was just a totally different perspective. But anyway, so the question was, are there lives that don't matter? Thoughts?
I mean, I try to look at or start my day off with being kind of neutral on my mood. Like, you know how I wake up with a smile on my face, whatever.
She does.
I try to.
She really does. No
go
jokes.
About my day, like, not judging people based on any sort of appearance. And even like the people that give me a hard time during the day, I still think that I'm gaining something from that experience. I'm getting stronger. I mean, in what I do, I deal with a lot of different personalities.
So you mean when they give you a challenge, when they're being total douchebags, it's still like an opportunity for you to grow?
Yeah, I look at it as a positive because they're giving me a great exercise to work through, and it's giving me practice, if you want to call it that.
I think you should. Like, what else are you going to call it?
Like, the more time, if I had to deal with 100 different assholes and then one nice person comes in, I'm going to appreciate that one nice person so much more and be more grateful.
Yeah.
the 100 assholes can be like after 10, I'm just like, yeah, I got this. I can get through my day so much easier. The things you throw at me are nothing because I've dealt with so much of it. So I think, I mean, whether they want to project that on me or not, I think I've gained something from it. And you also have to remember that everybody has a different experience. Shit might be happening throughout the day that they just don't know how to process it, and they kind of just deflect it onto people around them.
Like a projection.
Yeah, project.
Yeah. I think people project more than they think. Like, I know that I think everybody does on some extent. We we project more than we think that we do. We were doing that with like the mentalist stuff.
Yeah. Your hand is warm.
But the mentalist stuff, like they pick up on these projections that we put out there that we don't even know that we're doing. So,
but
like,
maybe explain what a mentalist is.
A mentalist is a person that
kind of like Chris Angel.
Yeah, kinda. Like it's like a magician that works in your mind. So like they might ask you. Like one of the tricks that the guy did was he said, he goes, I'm going to go through 1 to 10 and he just looks at her face and he goes 10, 9, 8, 7, and he goes, your first, and he was trying to guess the digits to the password to her phone, and he goes, it's 3 is the first number to your password on your phone, right? And she goes, yeah, how in the world did you know that? And he goes, okay, now the second number is I'm going to go, and he bounced around. He goes, okay, 7, and then he did a couple other like ways to figure it out, and he goes, and then he got to like the third number, and then he goes, okay, and then he had it all figured out at that point. So he goes through all the numbers just one time. He goes from 1 to 10, and he goes back down and back up, back down and back up. Doesn't even ask her for the next like 4 digits or whatever your phone number is, and he goes ding 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 ding. And he shows her, and her phone is open. She's like, how in the world could you have done that?
Looking for facial cues to understand how she operates. She was giving him cues to what numbers were going to open her phone. But
she wasn't part of the act. She was just a random person.
She was doing.
She didn't even know that this was happening on her face or wherever he was picking up that she was laying down. And so like other mentalists will do other tricks like that too to figure out where you are. So like that's how like mediums. We were talking about mediums. I think like I'm 100% like that's how mediums work. Like it's an algorithm. Like it's a skill that they have built to be able to know what to ask you and what to get to.
We talked a lot about mediums.
Yeah. And if you look at the mediums and you don't go to that, I have no heart, I have no emotion, you don't go to that logos space, you don't go to that reason and logic and objectivity space, it's very hard, or it would be very easy to get to be like, okay, well maybe there is something to all this thing. If you go to there, it's like, nope, there's nothing there.
It's not about feelings.
Yeah, it's not about feelings. You're not playing on your own emotions, because then you'll project things that you don't really mean to. But where were we going with the projection thing? I don't even remember.
I was talking about the All Lives Matter thing. I believe that everybody has a specific experience to share with us all.
Yeah.
I think everybody's life is equally... I mean, there are certain instances where people are like clearly just messed up in the head and they have problems. But I mean, how did they get to that? We were all born on an even playing field. We're all born like as a baby.
There's a lot of people
you gain experiences and your personality forms into what it is today.
Yeah. What about the people who would... Were you done? My bad.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What about the people that would say that genetic predisposition does not put you on an even playing field when you first start out?
You can say that too, but I mean...
Yeah, you're free to say that, but like, what about those people? Because I look at those people, and I'm like, yes, yeah, of course. Like LeBron James has a genetic advantage.
You can't 100% say that everybody's on the same playing field.
Yeah.
But as a mind, like that's developed over time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different forks in the road that get you to where you are today.
Yeah. And there's that, and there's also like the responsibility, like taking responsibility for whatever you can make out of your life is very powerful too. Like you were born with if you were born with the deck stacked against you. This is one of these. Reggie and I had this conversation when we were in college. He was my roommate. One of those black roommates. He was from Clearwater, I was like, if you were born with the dex, he was extremely good athlete, by the way, stud, like just stud athlete. He could just like he played football and baseball. He could have just laid on the couch eating Doritos for a year, gotten up, and still probably run a 4.40. I mean, he's just a stud. But anyway, it was like if you would have been born with but he was black, and he was born in inner city. You know, if you would have been, but we had this discussion, like if you were born without certain obstacles, would you still be the person that you were? And he was like, no, I don't think that I would. He had to be a little bit thankful for not that he was thankful that the obstacle happened, but he was thankful for how resilient he'd become out of
the experience
of that obstacle. Yeah, like attention deficit, dyslexia. Like we both got diagnosed with that. Like I don't look at it like it's a negative thing that held me back. I think it's something that propelled me forward.
Yeah, well, you have to be kind of grateful for the things that kind of in the moment feel kind of crappy.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I said, like the genetic thing. Like a lot of people would say that our brains were genetically wired to, like they were going to be attention deficit. You're going to be a female. I was going to be a male. Reggie was going to be black. And they would say like, oh, you have these things that the deck stacked against you. I think the deck stacked against me was a gift. Please double down against me. Like talk about setting me on fire.
Example, say like how many people do we know that were born with families that gave them literally every opportunity, everything in the world, and they're assholes. They have no sense of anything. Yeah. They were never given any obstacles. So when it comes to little tiny things or bumps in the road, they've never had to deal with them because they just ran back to their family to bail them out.
Yeah, that's a little of
that's an extreme example. But
it happens though. There's people that have been given everything in the world and turn into like what we would call some of the worst people in society. And there's some people that were given nothing, were born into the worst of circumstances, that the most terrible things happen, that become these outrageously amazing, successful human beings.
And the opposite. It doesn't matter. It's almost like, let's say you were given everything and you have to prove that you at that same in that same way that you are deserving of it and that you can do much more with it.
Yeah, it's like the Michael Douglas and Kirk Douglas
your duty
thing.
To succeed.
Right. Kirk Douglas is this outrageous, successful actor that came from nothing, blah, 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 blah. Michael Douglas, he tells his son, or he said in an interview one time, I feel bad for my son because how's he ever going to live up to his dad? You know, like, how's he ever going to be as successful as me? He was, like, remorseful about that, and I thought that was a really interesting thing. And Michael Douglas, you would say, is an extremely successful actor, just as successful, if not more, than his dad was. So, like, that's the thing. Like, he was given everything and still rose. You have other people. So you have people that have become great out of nothing. After given nothing in the worst of circumstances, you have people that become great after being given everything. You have people that become great. Like you have people on all four of the spectrums that are there.
Yeah. But I mean, the ability to give that person like the all lives matter thing. Everybody has a different story or journey. So I mean, however they decide to go and what forks to take in the road, like it's still life is precious. It's a solo journey for everyone.
And so all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. The question that we're posing is, like, we're not saying that we disagree or agree with all of them, because there's pieces of every single one of those that are really great, and there's pieces that are like, wait, what? What we're questioning is, are there any lives that don't matter? I don't think so. I don't think that. I don't know. I can't come up with a reason why a certain life would not matter.
So, like, if you were to go to, say, the death penalty, where people are able to argue that this person should be executed for what they've done, is that what you're saying?
I think there's some certain psychological things around that. I don't know. There are certain there's weird discussions that you can have there where you can go to some pretty crazy places in your mind, where you can kind of understand how like really wicked things happened in history, because you can take your mind to places where those wicked, evil things happened, and you can reason and you can justify why someone would have done those, and you're like, oh my God, that's so sick that I even had that feeling. It makes me ill. That's probably what those people felt too. But I think we all have that ability to go there in our minds, like understanding like
the mind is really powerful. So I mean.
And we're descendants of all those people that happened. You know, we're descendants of the people that did, you know, that murdered and killed, and you know, and you think about like what would happen if back in the day where like the food that you had was the survival of your family, and if someone came in and tried to steal that food, it meant that your family died. Would you not kill them to save your family? Like, of course you would. So it's like, oh my God, like, whoa.
It's all justification at that point. Like, how do you justify acting a certain way?
Sure, but like, it's just crazy to think about. So like, you go there, like death penalty, like there's a few psychological things around that. Like, this is the consequence for this. Okay, so now we've got a consequence thing. There's just get rid of them in society. You know, like if they can't perform in society, we get rid of them so that we don't have any more of that, so that they're not a threat anymore. There's like other like perspectives around that where it's like, is that what you do? And I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm like, is that what you do? Do you just get rid of them? Do you hang them in the town square so that everybody comes and watches? Like, that's like.
I don't know if that's historically how it was handled, or like how they just sent everybody to all the criminals. They sent them to Australia. Wasn't that a thing?
That was way back in the day. That's how. That's how white people got onto Australia originally.
Yeah.
Supposedly. I don't know if that's
from where.
From England.
From England, or
I'm pretty
from
sure
Europe?
I don't know. How I remember it being taught in school, but at the same time, we were taught in school that Columbus sailed to Virginia or some shit like that, which we know is not accurate whatsoever. That he never stepped foot in the United States. He came to Central America, and that was it. Like, he never stepped foot in the United States. So it's like what you were taught in school versus what is actually a reality, or like what history says versus what people want. Like, I don't know. I think you got to keep your skeptic hat on. But the question is, are there lies that don't matter? You do some really nasty things.
You can make arguments and excuses, but I mean, when it comes down to it, like, I think life is precious.
Yeah, I think life is precious too, and I think that if you are that person, like that one guy that just got picked up for, like, in the 70s, he went on this murder spree and raped and killed a bunch of people. It's just like, awful dude, right? And you have like people like the Unabomber, like these people have some like deep rooted pain inside them that maybe it's not healable, maybe it is, but like you almost like, I know a person that like, it would be easy for me to be mad at them for all the stuff that happened between us, because it's just a really terrible, nasty shit. But at the same time, like, she messed up. She just got a lot of things wrong with her. So it's, instead of being angry, like I was angry for a long time, and then finally came to the conclusion, it's not about me being like, this isn't something to be mad at. Like, this is like, that's sad that she lives that way. It's sad that the Unabomber ever had so much pain and shit wrapped up inside of him that he felt like going, like, that he came up with that answer, that sending bombs in the mail was an answer to his problems. Like, that's sad. It's sick and fucked up, but it's also sad.
Well, the documentary it wasn't a documentary, the show that we watched, it really, like, kind of showed his point of view, and, like, how he was just stuck inside of his, like, social insecurities. He had nobody, and he kind of just became so recluse that his reality was it was sad. It was sad to watch. And it's kind of hard to think that you can relate to somebody that killed people with bombs, and at that same moment you relate to it.
Yeah.
And if you can relate to something like that, I think you can relate to anybody.
Yeah. The weird places that you can go in your mind when you really start getting curious about where your mind can go is pretty fucking wild.
And in that way, that's why I think that all lives matter.
Yeah. Like all lives matter is a movement, so we got to stop.
Yeah.
Like all lives matter is a movement. Black lives matter is a movement. Blue lives matter is a movement that keeps on happening. People are identifying with this. It's a psychological thing that people identify with. Just the same way that cults are formed, people get into movements. And instead of saying that like all lives matter because that identifies you with that group. So the question, that's why we're saying, because we're not identifying with any three of the groups. The question is, are there lives that don't matter?
I don't think that there are lives that don't matter.
Yeah.
I gotta squeak out now.
Your voice is great. We got really off topic from what we were going to talk about.
But I think we kind of had to go through that.
Maybe so. But we are over time.
Okay, so how do you want to wrap it up?
How do we want to wrap it up? I would love to play the clip from Team America World Police. I can pretty much do it from memory, but I know you don't want me to.
I don't want you to do that.
I would very much encourage, go type into YouTube, type in Pussies, Dicks, Assholes, Team America, World Police. 2 different videos will pop up. One with an old guy in a bar and one guy in what looks like a spacesuit. And they're, oh, by the way, they're puppets.
Yeah, they're puppets.
Aaron says, hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
By the way, they're puppets, but it's like the wisest words ever said in any movie ever. And it's hilarious. And so like your mind will just be like, oh man, that's so true. But at the same time, you're like, those are puppets. And that was weird.
Take it
but it's great.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
That's about it.
It's worth a lot. But anyway, little off, like we went some different places than what we actually had written down as talking points. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I hope you guys got something out of it. These are just perspectives. Like the way that I think of this show is like, here, I'm going to pose a perspective and you can do what you want with it. It's not me imposing. Someone brought that up to me today. It wasn't Rachel. They said that I was very imposing with my views. I don't know if I'm imposing. If I am, I am. If I'm not, I'm not. But that's the way that I think about it is, here's a bunch of perspectives. Learn what you can from them. And
let's have a discussion
and then have a discussion around in your own head. And then have a discussion with me. Have a discussion with other people. Do whatever you want. But they're just perspectives. And it's up to you what you want to do with them. You want to send us off?
See you guys later.
Please share below, slap the share button, send this out to everybody you know. Thanks for being here, really appreciate it.
Bye guys.
See you tomorrow. Thanks guys.